I need a Copilot to help handle my calls.
You need a Copilot to handle your calls, huh?
Yeah.
Copilots for everybody. They're coming.
You know what?
Thyself.
So
It's
you
just
say
money.
Copilot for everyone. Copilot is not for everyone, Scott. I am disappointed by this. Disappointed,
we talked
upset.
about the pricing in the past.
We talked about the pricing, but there's some new
barriers
stuff.
to entry.
Yes. So Copilot for everyone was $30 a user a month. It's expensive. I get it. I was willing.
It is 54% the cost of your E3 license, if you want to think about it that way. Like, it is literally more than the cost of your E3 license to go and pick up Copilot.
But I was willing to pay for it. I absolutely would have paid $30 a month for Copilot, at least to start, to check it out. But then some news started coming out. It's going to GA on November 1, and I got all excited. And then I started looking at more news about it, and it is going to GA on November 1, and you can go get it if you have an enterprise agreement, and you can get your Microsoft person to go set you up with it, which I don't have. And if you're willing to purchase a minimum of 300 licenses.
Well, I was going to say 300 licenses or 300 seats.
300 seats.
Therefore, bringing you to what,
9,000.
Not 9K a month just to get started. So
K a month. 100
not for your little SMBs.
96. No.
Yeah.
What is, my math is failing me. 9 times 12. 104,000? No. 90. 108. Yeah. 108. Yeah. $108,000 a year for Copilot.
Yep. Which, remember, that's basically double the cost of what you had before. So
that is not double the cost of what I had before.
But for those organizations,
yes,
it's another one. Like, I don't have any like skin in the game insight here, but like from the outside, it's tough. It's a lot to swallow. You've got to do a lot of ROI justification, and I just wonder if people are like poking the bear, like poking at the market and seeing what it will maintain from a pricing perspective, just to get it there. But you won't know. I don't think M365 or O365 like even break down the numbers this way in financial reports or anything like that. Like what ARPU ends up like revenue per user and margin ends up being like per user within those product segments. But yeah. Now, that's funny because somebody in the chat is saying their TAM assures it will save us money. There are no more TAMs. So if somebody's still calling themselves a TAM, hey, they've got to get their heads out of the sand because they haven't been a TAM for 2 years. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it is a weird barrier to entry, too, in that, like you said, you have to basically be nominated in by a member of your account team. And at Microsoft, I don't know, like, I imagine there's a whole gamut of folks who listen to this podcast, and they're the enterprisey of the enterprisey, and they've heard terms like TAM and CSAM, and they know who like their account executive is, their AE, like they've got all that stuff down, or they've got an ATS and all that stuff running around, and they live in the acronym soup of Microsoft. The vast majority, especially like those 300-seat organizations that would potentially be eligible, they don't usually have like managed account teams. They're not big enough to get there.
Right.
It doesn't justify it from like a sales cycle kind of thing. If you've just come in and picked up, 100 licenses, 150, 300 licenses, like you're still in the threshold of SMB versus organizations that are in multiple thousands. Could be like single digit thousands all the way up to like 100,000 plus seats.
Yeah, I was going to say Microsoft puts that, just from a licensing perspective, they kind of put that SMB level at 300 because that's where you move out of the business into enterprise. But I'm with you. I've worked like some of my customers that are in those 350, 400 employees. I don't know that they necessarily have EAs or TAMs or account teams or all the different acronyms, because that level, they're still just going out and buying enterprises or going through a CSP or some of that.
Yep. 100%.
So yeah,
so they effectively become unmanaged accounts, which is fine in the grand scheme of things. And actually, I think for some of this, like, that's actually okay. I kind of want to see what happens when some of the biggest of the big kick the tires and how that looks for them. And, for the articles that are out there today about ways to think about justifying your ROI and your TCO with something like M365 Copilot, there's a lot of broad assumptions there because nobody has really been hands-on with it, I think, in the way that they're about to get hands-on with it. And that's going to lead to a whole bunch of interesting observations and conclusions, potentially like 6 months from now. Like, I would love to see the industry reports that come out of like Gartner and IDC and others after this has been out for a couple months. People have been hands-on with it. They've had a chance to effectively kick the tires and see what it can do for them.
Right. Okay, so this makes me laugh, Scott. We just talked about the 300 license level and the whole SMB thing. If you scroll down in that article from Schneider IM that you posted in Discord, we'll put it in the show notes. It's not every license is eligible for Copilot. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an add-on license. It works on top of the following: Microsoft 365 E5, Microsoft 365 E3. We knew both of those. Microsoft 365 Business Premium and Microsoft 365 Business Standard. Except that if you have Business Premium or Business Standard, the only way you're going to be eligible is if you have exactly 300 licenses, because
yes,
it doesn't allow you to have more. Unless, and I get it, some people have mixed and matched, right? You could have 300 Premium, 300 Standard for your 600 users, or have a few Enterprise mixed in with your Business Premium. But it kind of makes me chuckle that 300 is the threshold, and you can put it on these business plans, but most people that are at that level aren't on business plans because they get capped at 300.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
We'll see.
Obviously there's insights from like the licensing side that only, the folks who run the service are privy to, and they know their health, their business, and where they want to be with it. So yeah. I don't know. I still haven't had a chance to get broadly hands-on with it. Like, I'm very much looking forward to seeing that roll out. Like, I don't know how that'll go. Even at Microsoft, like as a Microsoft employee, do I get access to that? Well, I get like GitHub Copilot. I have that. I get Bing Enterprise Chat. Yeah. All those kinds of things are available to me today. I think one of the other things too is I wonder how many organizations sit down and look at they look at maybe like the raw cost of just Chat GPT and going straight to OpenAI. Like, why wouldn't you give OpenAI $20 a month depending on the functionality that you need, right? Like, if all I need is LLM without context, like, hey, go ahead and save yourself $10 a month and go over here and get this tool. I know a lot of conversations that I'm hearing are folks saying that part of the justification of the price is that you're staying kind of inside the four walls. So you're not just paying for functionality of a Copilot and access to a large language model. You're paying for access to a large language model that has context and access to your data within a security boundary. And that's big for a lot of organizations. Like, if you and I worked for two different orgs, we don't want to be just going off and firing off business secrets to Chat GPT under whatever nebulous licensing it has, a given day of the week, and learning those things and then surfacing them up to like something I say to it gets surfaced to you, or even worse, something we say to each other gets surfaced to somebody else. Like, so a part of it is just kind of covering your bases and making sure you've got that too. And I don't know how you quantify that one. Like, that one feels very fuzzy and very like process, regulatory driven, those kinds of things. So we'll see where that one falls out. But the barrier to entry is definitely very high.